Clubhouse, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Cool. I always love doing that. Welcome, everyone. Mitchell Levy, global credibility expert. And, welcome to a conversation on Clubhouse that we stream on multiple locations. And what we do is we're listening to you. So if you have questions, feel free to type them into whatever chat you're talking to, or if you're on Clubhouse and you want to speak, come on in and be able to ask the question directly. And Dr. Laura, would you like to say hello and introduce yourself?
I sure would. Hey, everybody. This is Dr. Laura. I'm super glad to be here with Mitchell Levy, two-time TEDx speaker, phenomenal man, a gentleman at that. All about credibility and leaning into my credibility with integrity.
Gentleman. I don't know if anyone has ever called me. They've called me gentleman before, but never gentleman. Thank you. It's nice to hear. I appreciate that. One of the things that I'm excited about when I focus on this is hearing from folks directly. And I think let me talk for a couple minutes, Laura, while you invite other people from Clubhouse to join us, and particularly those that may want to jump on the stage. And the thing that's interesting, the focus of this particular room is leaders. By the way, all of us are leaders because you should be leading your own life. So leaders living their values. And there are 10 values that are associated with being credible. And what's really interesting is just highlighting them, making sure that those around you see you. And credibility is the quality in which we're trusted, known, and liked. And I'll highlight three values that are most relevant. Now, let me rephrase that. I think all 10 are super relevant, but under being trustworthy, one of the things that often people forget is being coachable, right? It's having that ability to learn, to grow, to know that in every situation there's an opportunity to learn something new. And so there are 4 elements associated with being trustworthy, but coachability sort of stands out. And under being known as being a servant leader, it's being of service to others and seeing that you're of service to others. And under being likable, one of my favorite is just sharing your stage. I call that spreading cred dust. And so it's sharing the ideas, thoughts, and actions of others. And so what the thing that I was talking about on Clubhouse a little bit earlier, and I want to make sure I share here is we have there's a channel on YouTube. It's youtube.com/credibilitynation. And I answer 1 to 2 questions a week in 10 minutes. And this is sort of what I was thinking about. If you have a credibility question, feel free to ask it here. There are a couple that people have asked, and I've got to figure out which one to. I didn't shoot my episode this week, so I'm thinking about which episode to shoot. So I could sort of share a couple of those questions that came out. Laura, do you have a credibility question that's burning, that's in the back of your mind, something you're thinking through?
I do. I was just putting it in the chat. What do you do when you're on a team and you value them, but you come to find that the direction in which they're going doesn't align with your values any longer? You've been working with this team, and I have a second question as well. I'm not going to mix them.
Oh my God, that's a great question. Is the second question aligned? Maybe you should ask the second question, then we'll figure out which one to address first. That's funny. I love it.
What do you do when you're a leader in your workplace and you don't know something? And how do you deliver that, if at all, to your team who are relying on?
Oh, I love that one. Yeah. Huh. Wow, those are great. Those are great questions. These are both really phenomenal team type questions. Huh. So, and I assume you have answers too. So, should we talk about them together? All right.
I don't know if there's a right answer. It's I just know that when I adhere to my values, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Are you hearing?
I hear a little bit of that. Like I said, we'll practice during the week and make sure that let's just make sure we set time during the week, or maybe even after this, we'll run through technology to make sure you can come through the Clubhouse speaker.
Okay. What if I am aligned with my own values and morals, and then I carry out my ethics, and there's something that potentially damages my integrity. This is really starting. I can't be with you. I won't fit in with you. I refuse to fit in with you because that's a betrayal of me belonging to me. Once I know belonging and fitting in are two different things. Fitting in is I get to see you being you, and you don't care whether or not I'm there to witness it. Belonging is I get to be me, and you want to be around to see it. Another way of saying that is fitting in is I can only be like you when I'm with you. That's how you'll let me be there. Belonging is you want to see me be me, and it's a good thing. And once I know that I must brave that wilderness, I become it. I'm not going to navigate it anymore. I become it to explore who I am, what I am, and why I am. And that involves a lot of risk to be alone, not lonely necessarily. When I can be with me and be alone and not lonely, and sometimes enjoy it, I know that to betray myself in order to be with you, to fit with you, is the greatest betrayal I could ever imagine. Because every single time I can't ever go back. I can no longer fit in because I already know who I am. And to deny me, so often I hear you gotta love yourself first to fill others up. If that's the case, then if I'm around you and I'm not loving me, then whatever I give you is false. It's fake and it's fabricated. It's surface and there's no connection.
So I don't know if that's a third thing. So I heard two questions so far, and I think that's part of the first question, right? So let's do the easy one first. Is that okay?
That actually, both of those, I mean, if my agenda as a leader is what's in the best benefit of the team, and I learn that it's okay to be me, then it's okay for me to say, I don't know. And from my experience, the best teams that I've ever worked on were those in which the leaders had come to me and said, I don't know what to do. You take this, you got this. You know this so much better than I do. When you started your business, did you know the accounting, the marketing, the human resources, the insurance, marketing, all the tech, all that stuff? I mean, together we create more together.
Mm-hmm. So, by the way, that is absolutely the only answer. So here's the question. It's the second one that you asked, and we'll get to the first one afterwards. If you're a leader of the team and you don't know, what do you do? And you said it exactly what you said. To be a credible human means that you're coachable, you're vulnerable. If you're leading a team, you're leading means you're facilitating and bringing the best out of everybody. You're not expected as the team leader to know it all. As a team leader, you're the person empowered to make the final decisions, unless you delegate that to other people for other areas. And so the most credible thing you could do is exactly what you said, Dr. Laura, and that is say, hey, I don't know, I need help. To pretend otherwise is dubious.
It's arrogance to think that I don't want to be around anybody who thinks they know it all. I mean, even for one thing, that's boring, because we're going to grow. We're going to grow. If I'm going to be with around other people if I want to scaffold and learn, and I'm with someone who has nowhere to grow, then I don't want to go with them, because they're done.
It's yeah, I like that. That's it. Although I as simple of a question as I think that is, I'm not sure everyone would think that way.
I don't care about everyone else. I care about me growing. I can't worry about 8 billion people.
Exactly. Well, I'm saying that in relation to those who are listening or watching at the moment, is if you're part of a team and you're leading the team, that does not mean you're leading the thought processes, that you need to know everything, that you have the answer in the back of your hand for everything you're doing. Leading the team means you're going to bring out the best solution that exists, either in the team or even outside.
Yeah. And if that means calling on others because they have expertise. If I'm a Jill of all trades, I'm a mistress of none.
I don't know if I would say that for me. I have expertise in some areas and not in others, but I am comfortable saying what I don't know when I don't know it.
There's a certain level. I know a little bit about a lot, and I know a lot about a very little bit. I can have comfort, but then is there expertise? Like, I know what a landing page does. I have no idea how to create one. That's okay. So I hire someone who does. I think there's something to be said for taking a one down and allowing others to shine. And in order for a leader, like you said, I believe that leaders are responsible for those who are in their charge. And if that means finding the beauty in them, why would I ever promote them if I never give an opportunity for them to stand out and challenge and scaffold up? Why would I want to hire someone or with someone on my team who's a social loafer, or what they call it? I forgot what the other word for it is. Who's just hanging a sponge, soaking up everyone else's benefit. Because if you're, I keep meaning because I hear feedback. If you are a sponge on my team, you're not a block. You can't lift others up. You're a sponge. You're going to suck it all in. We're going to suck down with you. I'm going to propel and lift.
Yeah, I'm just staying with if you're leading a team and you don't know an answer, the best thing you could do is to ask questions and to see on your team who could support and who could take it. Now, if you have team members on your team, they should be acting and being the same way.
Not necessarily.
I'll say it again.
Not necessarily. I mean, I
Okay.
think, yeah, they may have different ideas about the way in which to go, because that's all about innovation and change. The innovators, they're the ones who have these ideas that never thought of it that way. They may think differently, behaving ethically for sure.
So let's go into your first question, which was a little bit more very deep. Okay. So you're part of a team. So this is a question you asked. You're part of a team. So I assume that means you're not the leader. And the team ends up going in a direction that you don't believe in ethically. Was that the question?
The values, it could be ethically, the way that they carry it out could be different. But I was focusing more on the values and morals.
Values and morals.
The belief system, but it could
Okay.
be ethics.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So first of all, there most likely needs more context of all that. So it depends on the team. It depends what you're doing and what the focus is. If the end product is still in the way that, are you still delivering the end product? It's just the actions you're taking to get there are not in your value or moral code. So there's a bunch of questions. Should I make assumptions about those questions, or do you want to answer some of them?
Well, yeah, you can answer some yourself. I mean, this is just hypothetical at any rate.
Then okay, then we'll do the hypothetical. So imagine you've joined a team, and you like the general construct of the team. And as you are moving along and the team's accomplishing their goals, and let's make an assumption that they're staying on target with the goals that you originally joined up for. And what's happening is the tactics that are being taken are tactics you don't believe in. Okay, so I'll make that as the assumption. This is what most of us do, right? This is what sort of the concept of dubiousness is all about. Is we're told how to do things. We're told how to do things in a very dubious manner. And because they work, we continue to do them. And what I would say is, just because your leaders, whether it's the leader of the team or leaders elsewhere, are telling you that these are the tactics and the way to accomplish these goals, if they bother you morally or ethically or value structure wise, you have an obligation to yourself not to succumb, not to change your moral or ethical code, because the means do not justify the end. And obviously you need to look at every situation different. And I can't say that 100% hardcore, but if the team is doing something that ethically and morally is against your values, the question becomes, you need to say something, right? You need to actually, yeah, Dean, I noticed you responded, and I always love your responses. I'll read them in a second. And by the way, Dean, you're more than welcome to come on. And anyone, if you want to come on, let me know, and I'll give you the link. You can come on to both Clubhouse for audio and video in StreamYard. But for me, the really fascinating part is if I'm part of a team, I'm thinking about for me personally, and the team leaders are taking a direction that stand against, and I'll just give you one that's very important to me. Hate. Hate is one of those things that does not belong. Team's at the airport boarding a plane. Safe travels. I'll look at your answer in a second. If I was part of a team, and no matter what they were doing, they were emanating hate as a way to accomplish their goals, I would leave that team. It's not probably the first thing I would do is talk to the team leaders and other people saying, hey, this does not feel like the right way to go. This is against my moral code and values. I think we should take it in a different direction. And if they continue down that direction, I would leave the team. So that's me, right? And that's one of the areas that would sort of break my thought process, my value system. What do you think about that? I'm going to read Dean's response, Laura. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I wouldn't be on that team. I think hate is such a broad word. I mean, outright discrimination. That's humiliation is very different than shaming or guilting. Frustration, betrayal. See, there's trust is all involved in this. And there's an acronym that I love for how trust is defined, and it's using an acronym called BRAVING. And Brene Brown uses it. You know I love her. And she says B is boundaries, for sure. This is what's not okay. And this is what is okay. And the R is reliability. When you say you're going to do something, I can count on you. Always. The A is accountability. When something's wrong, you own up to it. When something goes wrong and you're responsible for it, you own up. And you hold others accountable for their mistakes. The V is huge. That's the vault. If you share something to me that's not yours to share, meaning it's about somebody else, it's not yours to share. Did you hear about Mitchell? He's getting a divorce with his wife. That's not my share.
Not happening, by the way, just to be clear. Not happening.
And also, if I share something with you that's not mine to share, and also if you share something with me that for the purpose of connection, I will never trust you, because how the heck could I possibly imagine that you would not leave here and share what I shared with you? And then someone might say, well, I never shared anything about you. It doesn't matter. You just told me who you are. You just showed me who you are. The I is integrity. And that means showing up and doing what you said you're going to do, holding firm in your values. The N is non-judgment. I'm not going to should, could, or would on you.
Yeah. Hey, Laura, I'm wondering if you could come on Clubhouse only, because there's just so much reverb. And Delaney is asking about that as well, and maybe we could, is that possible? Because we're getting a little bit of reverb, and why don't you play with that for a little bit, and I can. I'll let you know when I can hear. I see your mouth moving, so I'll let you know when I can hear you. Feel free to. Yeah, no, I'm not hearing you on Clubhouse. So, because that would be great. I think when you came on Clubhouse, it was great. There was just a little bit of echo, so that'd be interesting if we could hear Clubhouse only. Would be the best way possible. And Delaney, thank you for. I was just letting it go in and out of one ear, but I hear you. So while you're playing with that, let me read to you Dean's response. I love Dean Miles has such amazing interpretation of words. And so what he said when we asked the question, he goes, this is a great question. And his particular focus, I love it when he's looking at two different words. So the words he was looking at was values and morals. And so I want to, for those who if you're on LinkedIn, you could read this, but I just going to read Dean's comment. Values and morals are often used interchangeably, but there is actually a difference between the two. Morals are a code of conduct that is based on ethical or religious beliefs. They usually dictate what is right and wrong, and they tend to be universal. Values, on the other hand, are personal beliefs that guide an individual's actions and decisions. They can be influenced by family, culture, religion, and other factors. While values can change over time, morals, and he goes, I guess he stopped. He ran out of time to talk. And I could see you, but I'm not hearing you yet. So I'll let you know when I can hear you, Laura. I love that concept.
Morals are broad. They're cultural concept. Values are individual, personal. So what's a moral code of conduct? Thou shalt not kill. At the same time, you can have, we're not going to go down that one. Keeps hands to self, works well with others in kindergarten. Okay, it's pretty much general. I hate this. Gotta fix this. However, if you see someone bullying another person, it's my value that I won't let that happen. I agreed to protect my country, but I'm not going to let. I don't approve. I agree to the right to bear arms. I don't agree with allowing firearms in a home without being locked up around children. So I agree with the right to bear arms. Oh, I agree to the right freedom of speech. Definitely. A value is now back in the day, it might have been okay to defame particular color of skin. Definitely not today. At any rate, I will not allow you to defame another person and put them down rather than lift them up, especially me. So the cultural value, the moral. This is so irritating. I think I got my point across.
You did, and we could play right after this if you have time. If not, let's make time this week just to test drive and make. I think it's when you went to Clubhouse through your computer that things got. I think you have to hold it. You need to do Clubhouse from the phone, and that's probably the best way for you to get access. I wanted to comment on what Dean said. And but he actually finished the sentence, so I'm going to finish this now. It's interesting. I'm going to interpret it as I'm reading. So Dean says, while values can change over time, morals are usually more fixed. And I like the usually more because I know people whose morals have changed over time as they've changed. So while you may value honesty, it is still considered morally wrong to lie. In general, values are more flexible than morals and can vary from person to person. Man, that's really deep, dude. I do agree. Your values are absolutely changed by those around you. And I'm going to bring this back to the question originally you asked, Laura. Your values are changed by those around you and those you're influenced from potentially the sources of content you're consuming. And if you're only consuming one source of content, over time, your values are going to be skewed along the lines of that source of content, for good or for bad. Your moral fiber is something that's mostly fixed, although there are times in which something new changes, or some new approach happens, or something happens to you where you're changing that moral compass. And so going back to the question, you're in a group, and let's call it a work group. You're in a work group, and the boss in the group takes a directions that is morally, not just value-wise, but morally against what you believe in. Do you continue to go in that route? And I'm going to say the best way possible, you want to figure out a way to answer that no, because you're doing yourself a disservice. Now, what happens?
No,
Go ahead.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
Because is it okay? So it's a moral. Okay, so morally, I don't lie. I don't lie for the most part. Okay, so when we talk to our kids and we say there's a little white with race on there, a little white lie, it was just when we sugarcoat something, or there's a little grain of salt with that stereotype. It's just a little, with a grain of salt, just a little part that's true. There's a kernel of truth, a little kernel of truth. So then we exaggerate it, we overemphasize it, overgeneralize it. And so our morals could be, in general, don't lie. Our values, for me personally, I'm not going to lie. Yet, if you're lying to your spouse or your partner that you're committed to with, and you hit on me at work or wherever, and you adhere to don't lie as a moral, one of your morals, you may be there's a cognitive dissonance. It's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day when you know that smoking creates cancer. So there's a cognitive dissonance there. So I can say don't lie, then I can be cheating on my partner. So for me, my value isn't necessarily true. What if I don't lie? And I'm stealing items from work to take home, like the opposite advice. So my value, and it can be contextual. Don't kill. It's now okay to kill, but it's contextual, meaning that if I'm called to war, I'm doing it for the sake of the country. Who says that? This is just for argument's sake. Who says that we're not the terrorists coming in from the perspective of that country that we're invading? Or I'm on a subway and I take out a machete and I start killing a bunch of people. But killing's not right. What's murder? Don't get me started on the Roe versus Wade, because that's a whole other topic. Euthanasia, the death penalty. Don't kill. You can't murder somebody. We murder someone to punish them for murdering someone. So just things it does. There's a dissonance. So that the moral code, don't kill, and then where's the moral code upheld? Regardless of the politics. When it really comes down to what's the definition of murder, it's taking life. An eye for an eye. Well, you gotta do it, but we say don't kill, but then you gotta kill. What? You're gonna go to jail? If you kill someone, you're gonna be killed, but don't kill. It's just an example. I hope that sits a little bit. Something to think about.
It does actually it does actually bring up some very interesting. God, it brings up some very interesting points of view, because it does actually fly in the face. Because if you have a moral structure not to kill, and you're asked to be part of a jury, right? And you're doing a vote on, you're doing the jury vote at the end of whether or not somebody should be put to death. Like, that's interesting, because you're being asked by the public. Oh, that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked this question. Now, this requires a whole lot more thinking.
Ask Byron, because he's gonna go philosophical on me. I can say on my no way.
No, I think I walked in on that and I was not sure where you were going, but now I see. So I think for me, that's just the managing, within my morals. Like, wait a minute, if there's potential death penalty kind of mindset on something that I'm, kind of putting in a respect. Like I bias myself out publicly and visually to make sure that I disqualify their acceptance that I'm the right person. You know what I mean? But I don't really understand the construct of peer review kind of mindset under those kind of, principle understandings. The laws are laws, but that doesn't mean that we represent individually the laws. Otherwise, they probably would change. So there's my 2 cents. And I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but Dr. Lauren.
What? Can you say that again, please?
Which one? Which part?
That was sounded so good. I don't think I absorbed it completely. Could you say it again? The last part.
Oh, yeah. So, like, if we're called upon to individually represent the law, if somebody breaks the law and there needs to be somebody's life, decision made, I'm not sure we kind of have that individual right, in the sense that if we had the individual right, the laws probably would change. The laws don't represent our individuality as much as they would like to in that case.
Well, who has the right? Who gets the opportunity to make the laws? It's like school. Who has the power and control to determine because the school's a building. The education is what's taught there, and who has the ability, historically speaking, racially, based on gender, who has the right to learn to read? Because if education is knowledge and knowledge is power, right, then education is power. And so I don't need to start an whole history lesson here. Then what we learn in school, that's the education, and that's knowledge, based on who dictates who has the ability to learn and what's taught. So all the things that we hear about that's not included based in the history books, what's not included there? Who has the ability to say what's taught or not? And then, so that's knowledge. I just memorized some data and facts and regurgitated onto a page. That's not wisdom. Wisdom is integrating through experience what I've learned and saying, no, that doesn't work for me no more. The world's not flat. The earth is not flat. Because now I know better. And each time we have to be curious. I mean, literally, there's at any moment, our entire world could be just shattered in the sense that we don't have anything that we actually identified with ourselves that we thought was real. Could be smashed in a second. So then we cling to these beliefs, and then it's like our ego. When someone says to us, "Wait a second, that's not right. Did you look at this study, or that proved that wrong?" Theories can't be proven; they can only be disproven. But regardless, that when we find out or someone challenges our beliefs, it's almost like a personal attack of our values and what we believe in, our morals. And the morals, it's a morality, and that has a little bit more, I don't want to say credibility, firmness, groundedness, because then we have the cultural morals instead of our own personal values. Well, the culture says we can use that as a more firm standing post. I guess that's so to speak. They're just ideas that float through my head, just thoughts.
God, this is so tasty. Wow, I'm going to definitely spend a whole lot of time on thinking a little bit more about this. And there's a part of me that wants to change the topic just a teeny bit, only because Delaney asked a question in chat. And so I think maybe we should address her question. And, but this is for you, for this particular topic. If this topic gets you excited, maybe we could bring this up again next week. It's a very interesting value structure and approach, and particularly talking about education in all these areas. I just, it's pretty amazing to be thinking about, this, and then some of the dichotomies that we're just put ourselves into. So I'm going to do a quick station identification and change topic a little bit. And Delaney, thank you so much for this question. It was really interesting. Can credibility be repaired once lost? And I love this question. So I have to say, I'm going to first say yes, but I'll do the yes and. Okay. So in some cases, because it's such a broad question, right? Can credibility be repaired once lost? Clearly, Byron, I'd love to hear from you. Delaney, I'd love to hear from you if you want to share as well. Sometimes there are times which we lose credibility for silly reasons. So let me give you an example. Somebody's always late to a meeting all the time. Their ability to, so every time you have a meeting, it's at work and they're always 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late. They're losing credibility because they don't seem to have respect for you. And you don't feel like they could ever make a deadline or do stuff on time. And in your mind, they really have lost credibility. Now, the thing is, maybe they don't know better. Maybe they've been taught wrong that being credible to them is being busy enough that they always come to every meeting late. And in some cases, all you have to do is explain to them what this is doing for you and how it's feeling. And if they said to you, yes, I want to change. I'd like to have you respect me of being able to somebody to deliver. And then they start demonstrating that over time, they could build their credibility back in your eyes because they need to be coachable. They need to be vulnerable. They need to say, hey, I made a mistake. I'll fix it, and then start fixing it. And so that applies to a number of situations, but there are times where people lose credibility. Sometimes time, people forget certain things, but it's really about ongoing action and how people show up. And so, can you build credibility back when you lose it? A lot of times, it depends on how you lost it. And if it's something that you did and you made a mistake, you need to own it. Once you own it and say, this is something that happened, or I don't know how that happened. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense, but it's not something I would do in today's world. If you take a sort of a Buddhist philosophy, every time you take a new breath, you're a new person. And as a new person, that person you are now is not the person you were in the past. And so if your actions, your approaches, your thoughts are in a way that is now building upon that thing that maybe at some point in time you made a mistake. And if you're building on something new that is credible and people start seeing you as that person, then yes, you are building your credibility back. Do you have thoughts on that?
I do.
Oh, awesome. Love to hear from you, Byron.
Yeah, Mitchell. For me, this is how I see this kind of construct, is that credibility is dot to dot. Like you explained, it's an external validation of somebody's time spent, throughout, being able to kind of see a pattern or a repetition. There's your external credibility. But if that's broken, there is the understanding that not all dots are connected. So credibility can then be transformed into its own, starting point with a new connection. So if we look at those variables, where does credibility truly lie? It lies within the self, not externally. And showing up in those kind of moments to kind of restructure for somebody else, if they communicate in a way that helps you, that's credible within yourself, because you have to show up and do the work. Just like you said, the guy showing up late, maybe in his understanding, the idea is that I showed up. I'm credible for showing up regardless of the time. So there's little variations to broken credibility in my mind versus the external, acceptance of somebody else's awareness of your dots connected with theirs. Because there's many, many people to hold credible values for others, and that those people don't always connect. So just knowing your credibility is within, I think. And I like to use credibility because it's normally referenced externally with our, economic systems, with our values of, here's my word, give me some goods and I'll pay you later kind of mindset, or something, you know, just in that concept. But it all still is within ourselves, you know, and Dr. Laura can speak on the many variable words that relate to this. But I think the reality for me is that I can only break it, but that gives me the understanding that it's still something within my power to quote unquote fix, if you choose, either going to a different bubble, different dots to connect, or putting in the effort through communication for the dots that you have connected, so that you can see their patterns to rebuild that kind of, you know, link of understanding and respect, mutual respect. And it comes down to time a lot too. So actions are based on time, either by the observer for the handoff credibility, or from yourself, with the idea that I'm credible enough to continue doing the things and be aware of the things that others might not see as credible. So, but thanks, Mitch.
Byron, that was really powerful. I'm going to summarize. You can't be credible externally until you're credible internally.
Perfect.
I mean, you said a whole lot more about that, but I really love it. Credibility is a journey. It's not a destination. And Delaney, what I'm going to say is at some point in time, you may have hit a destination mark where externally, taking what Byron's talking about, externally, somebody has said, hey, you're not credible. You've lost it. But you still, that's a point in time. You have the opportunity to change your point in time. And if you're acting and being credible internally, that gets to manifest itself in a number of different locations. Huh. Delania, did you want to comment on that one? If not, that's okay. And we'll let Dr. Laura give her 2 cents. But Byron, that was awesome. All right. Dr. Laura, what do you think?
Oh, Mitchell. Byron, slaying it. Everything's contextual. And you know, we could mull this over forever and give all of these hypotheticals. And isn't that what life is about? Is understanding in context. So there's no absolutes. And when we get set in our mind set that it's got to be one way, then there's no room for growth. Having these philosophical concepts, peeling away, diving into and exploring, marinating, saturating ourselves in the marinade of these thick concepts and wow ideas. We could sit in a cloud all day. We could sit in that nice big comfy seat of that hammock in our backyard. That is the saturation holder, our little pod that we get held in, and we can mull around in it, or we could be like in quicksand, going, I can't get up, help me out of here. Or we can say, you know what, bring it, give me an example, let's live it. And then let's say lying. When a kid is bullied and then acts out at school or another place where an adult acts out at school, instead of, usually what I hear is, what's the matter with you? Instead of, what happened to you? Making assumptions that this is a bad seed, or their parents are at fault, or they're just that type of kid. Instead of listening for a moment and asking, what's going on? That any behavior or activity that's engaged with on the part of that person on their hands, they kill. School shooter, they kill. Kid's not going to be good for that. I highly doubt it. If the kid comes in with a gun or whatever, it's all contextual. And that's the beautiful thing about being human, is that there's no one way to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it. There's no cookie cutter way to do it. You're born, you die. That's it. That's all you can count on for sure. Unless there's something you know that I don't, and then my whole world is shattered because, oh boy, excuse me, I was living in that way. Bring it. Life's a rumble. Get into it. Reckon with it. And then what's your revolution? Probably doesn't answer the question. That's just
I'm just gonna say I love that. I love that thought. Delania actually asked to jump in. Are you ready to unmute your mic and talk? And then oh, go ahead, Delania.
Oh, is it working? Hi.
Yeah.
I'm in the car, so the connection's kind of popped up and down. So apologies for that. It's funny. Maybe I was not following the last conversation like I thought I was, but I just wanted to say one thing.
You're breaking it.
I think you were talking about jury of peers, right?
You're breaking up a little bit.
All right, I'm in the car. Is it not working?
a little better.
Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to just clarify in the prior conversation, were you guys talking about jury of peers? And
Yeah, it was actually,
Yep.
Okay. I have a strong feeling on this one, and this is my 25 years in research speaking, but I worked in DC for a political pollster doing message testing, and you discover that there could be, mock juries where people, the best paid lawyers get to message test how to tell a story, how to frame a story, how to cast, how to appeal to that quote unquote juries of peers. So I look at it like, if you're at the mercy of a public defender and you're up against somebody that's got a, 6-figure lawyer, that's not fair. So I kind of have this mindset of, if I'm called into jury duty, I would say, if I wanted to judge, I would be a judge. I don't believe in this process, and I will abstain no matter what happens. So I don't know. That's just my feeling. I feel like it's. I don't agree with the process, and the construct of jury of peers.
And
may I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, do you, and just for kicks and giggles, do you then believe in one single judge being able to dictate the outcome of what the individuals who have more money to hire better qualified storytellers or people who tell stories better, and thereby that one person's subjective experience and their history, their entire previous experience leading up to that point is the hue is different, that is colored or
Well, I would say
I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't agree with or disagree with it.
I don't know for sure. So the way I think about it is, you're more at risk of having a crooked judge, and if you're in that secondary, the judge decides. But I also feel like if you take the average IQ of the average person that's going to be the peer versus somebody has a lifelong career in law and gets to know the cast of characters of attorneys and what tricks they play. If it were me, I would put my money on the judge.
So is that why they have jury selection? Is jury selection based? Did you even go over that? Based on the optimal outcome, based on whoever's picking the jury.
If mock juries are done, so you could test how to appeal to the emotions of the average juror. For 25 years, I've helped companies, tell their promote and market and advertise their products in the most persuasive way. So I feel like it all comes down to who's got more access to funds, right? It gives an unfair advantage to somebody that can lawyer up versus someone who cannot,
Lawyer up, I love that.
And I would also say, me personally, like I don't want to be responsible for someone's future because maybe I'm going to get it wrong as a juror, and I choose to not do that. To me, it's a trauma trigger, to be honest. Like, everyone has a whole story, and there's just so much injustice in the criminal justice system, and I feel like maybe it's a cop out to say I want to opt out of it, but I don't want to be responsible for someone's rest of their life or how it impacts their small children or any of that.
Well, I got to tell you, I can't wait to get you on my stage because you got a story. There's a reason why you're saying this. I know, right? I want you on my stage, baby. Let's have a little chit chat. How about that?
Yeah, well, if I say the word trauma trigger, that's probably a cue for you, right?
Right.
Yeah. So sorry to circle back to that topic, but it's a one I have a little key on, you know?
No, I'm really glad you did. And thanks for sharing. And by the way, since you're still talking, did we answer the question that you originally asked? Is once you lose credibility, can you gain it back? Do you feel like you've got an answer to that?
I love what I heard, and I feel like I have no idea how you possibly can give it an answer, and I love everything you said. And it makes me think about, you've probably covered this in the past, but what's the line between trust and credibility? And that's probably a whole big topic. Maybe that's another week. But yes, I loved how you guys have approached the credit. Can you regain it?
I think an excellent topic would possibly be on. I mean, we can make this a little bit, because it's like writing a dissertation. You got to cut down I want to study this. Well, we got to cut it down. So, hold it, reel it in, young grasshopper. Can't cover all of it. So just cut it in half and cut it in half. So I'm thinking about boundaries. When is it okay to cross boundaries? What's okay and what's not okay?
Oh, that's a great topic. I think we should. I want to cover that one next week. I'm gonna answer, Delaney. I'm gonna answer your question, but this will be a really short answer, and because I do have a TEDx that covers it in a lot more detail. Credibility is the quality in which you're both trusted, known, and liked. And so the credibility is trust is a part of credibility, but also credibility is who you are and how you show up both on the outside and more importantly on the inside. And I also think credibility is a component of likability. And so that it's I have a book on the topic. I have a TEDx on the topic. I've spent a lot of time, and let me look for like one of my 10-minute videos and send you a link to that of explaining credibility and trust. I'd love to get your feedback on that.
Awesome. I'd love to hear it.
I'm gonna on this last topic, and by the way, if you're in the audience, you want to speak, and Delana, thanks so much for speaking up. I want to read Dean's response to this question because he brings up a word that I only implied and didn't bring up, and I'd love to get your feedback on that. Particularly Byron, it'd be interesting for me to hear this. But Dean says, "Can credibility be repaired once it's lost?" He goes, "It's a valid question, especially today." The answer, unfortunately, is not a simple one. By the way, I don't disagree with that. It may be easier to change the behavior that led to the loss of credibility, but it will be even harder to change the perception. So in some cases, all that can be done is to try to rebuild trust over time through consistent, honest behavior. And it was a different angle and certainly a much cooler set of words that Dean used in his answer. What do you think about perception, Byron?
I think we're all captive, in that mindset. It gives you the lack of truth and puts you in a translation mindset. That's kind of where I would go with perception. But if you really just internalize what that means is that you relate to someone else's understanding in an observational manner and then quantify that through their own history upon what they're observing. So it's really goes down to a lot of those kind of constructs of what perception means in either the moment or the linear version of the moment, meaning the time spent in categorizing moments over a singularity or a person, a place, or thing, because we have perceptions of many things we track. Yeah, so I would say in that concept, because perception really is, I would say, the noise of most things, energy or life-based, is that we tend to push away the reality of perception rather than owning it and trying to, maneuver the reduction of distraction through perception.
Yeah, that was tasty. And I'm just going to read out what Ebenezer says. He says, "I like consistent, honest behavior." Like, by the way, that's the answer to life, universe, and everything. Let's just have consistent, honest behavior. Wouldn't that be great if we all had that? Dr. Laura, when you like something, it's I'm sitting here and I'm watching. Oh, I don't think I've shared everyone. So if you're watching us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the sound is coming from an iPad. And so what Dr. Laura does is, do you want to change? Do you want to do something where you can? Yeah, okay, it's happening. So she does. I'm not sure how you do that. Could you talk for a second how you do that? What I'm referring to is when I'm looking at her picture on Clubhouse, something uniquely interesting happens. You want to talk about that for a second? I'm kind of curious.
Sure. For those of you who don't know Clubhouse, it's a social audio app. I don't know where you're at. Get on it. We love you. Come join us. And once you get on, super fun. And so you have your picture there. And if you press on, maybe Byron can help with that, and Mitchell as well, of course, Delana, and all of the folks who are in the room. Hello, April. Ebenezer, yay. So if you put your finger on your face and then hold it for a couple seconds, and then you'll see another window will pop up.
Oh, so cool.
I'm on an Android. However, you can do this on your iPhone as well. This is what it looks like. This is what an Android looks like. I could show you what my iPhone looks like, but I'd have to be kicked out of the room. I have to really sign up. So then I'm gonna put a little heart. Ready? Watch it. I'm gonna press this. Watch my face. My face is right there. How did I do it? What?
I see it now.
Okay, so that's it. That's one. But now here's the thing, right? You see this bottom thing up here? Let it go. 1 second. Okay. You see this little one here that says GIF? GIF.
Yeah, I see it now. I've never seen this before. So cool.
Put in love. I'm just gonna type in love, and then what comes up? Oh my God! I'm gonna select I love you. What? And that's gonna replace my face. It should. Why did it not? Why did my heart get? Oh, that's what that is. It just looks like that.
Now, how do you turn it off?
It comes. It just goes off by itself.
Okay. Okay.
But you can do it. Oh, you're doing the worm. You're a football player doing the worm.
I know, but it's not stopping.
So Byron.
Oh, there it is.
Whenever you're speaking, I end up going, oh my gosh, what? That was amazing. And so what I usually respond in is I don't know, is when you're using a microphone. I think it's called a mic drop. A mic drop. Boom. She's dropping the mic. Right? Can you see it?
Love it. Yep.
Yeah, I really like this.
You're flat on your face. You have a dog in the snow.
I like this.
Thanks, dropping the mic.
This feature, Mitchell and Dr. Laura, because the audience gets to express their emotional state, let alone their words in the chat. So I think this kind of visual helps express emotion within this app, and it does it in a fluid manner that allows the interaction. For someone's private moment, maybe they don't want to get on stage, maybe they have nothing to say logically or thoughtfully, but the idea of the emotion that's driven from the conversation can be expressed, and I enjoy that.
You can do it from the audience as well, because some people don't want to come to stage. Like, I'm all over it. You can get into gift jail, just like you can get in ping jail. Because you can get the last one. Hold up, Dr. What?
I said you wouldn't know that one. You used it. I love it.
True not. Well, this is the thing. I'm quite emotive. I'm quite demonstrative. It's very difficult to look at my face and not know what's going on in me. But yeah, of course, right, Richard? Yes, of course. The thing about it is that I emote. I want to connect. I love to know how you're doing, and even in the back chat or whatnot. Those are jargon terms for those who are not in Clubhouse. Is that it's important for me? You know what? I already know why. I'm 8 years old and I'm grounded to my bedroom for the whole summer because I changed my grades because I wanted to hear other people's stories. You talk too much. You failed listening. Now you're going to be silent. You will hear me. If I can't speak, you will see me. You will know that I'm there. That's the gist. I've done a lot of work in processing. Who would have thought that, it's so easy to go back when you know it, doing the work. I don't have to feel that way today. It's a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, getting therapy, amazing. When you just cut through the chase. Yeah.
Well, I'm actually, we have hit our time frame and then some, and this is really, I may take one or two of these questions. Like I said at the beginning, this is the Credibility Nation Clubhouse. It is the room focused on leaders living their values, and I'll probably take one of these questions. I'm going to probably record sometime today, or maybe it'll be tomorrow, but I want to record a credibility question. And I don't know if that first question you asked, Laura, I don't know if I've given enough thought to be able to answer that one. I love the question of if you lost your credibility, can you regain it? But I'm going to be thinking about that, and I appreciate it. It'd be great if everyone wanted just do a quick wrap up. Say your name, who you are, how people could reach out to you, and then we'll call it a day.
Sure. This is Dr. Laura Cobb. I am on Clubhouse and LinkedIn. My primary, it's just Dr. Laura Cobb, Dr. Laura Cobb, one word. And you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn or here on Clubhouse and back chat me a message. I'd love to work with you.
Thank you. I so appreciate you. Byron?
Hi, Mitchell. I'm not going to publicize myself. I have a little bit of time restraint on that stuff. So if you find me on Clubhouse, you find me on Clubhouse. But my wrap up, really, Mitchell, the key here is that how do you value the noise in life? Or how do you take value away from noise in life? And, I'm growing something that's called Own the Noise. And that's the key is, for me, is just understanding the value structure through growth and through process. So hope that helps.
I love that. Own the noise. Oh, I can
that's
only.
An entirely other. That's not even another meeting or room. That's like a whole episode. That's a series. I could totally see that.
Dude, when you're ready and you want to talk about it, we could spend an entire session focused on owning the noise.
I appreciate it, Mitchell.
That would be awesome. Delania, did you want to say hello and goodbye? I know since you're in a car, you may or may not want to. All right. Well, go back and forth on your microphone if you want to chime in. And I'm just gonna say I'm Mitchell Levy. My focus is all, I'm gonna say credibility, but what it really is, it's focused on leaders living their values and making a difference. And so if you have a particular point of view and a focus and you are living out loud who you are and how you show up, then I'm interested in you coming and talking, whether it's on Clubhouse or asking questions on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have a membership community called Credibility Nation. I am on a credibility question that you have. For those that want to, feel free to ask the question in video, send it to me, and then we'll put you on the YouTube channel where you get to ask a question, and then I'll help answer it in 10 minutes. And that's in the youtube.com/Credibility Nation. And in the meantime, Dr. Laura, thank you for joining me here today and showing up, showing yourself facially as well on the other channels. Your expressions are absolutely spectacular because you live out loud. And Byron, Delania, thank you both also for coming and joining in the conversation today. And Ebenezer for staying the entire time. Dude, you're awesome. And I appreciate you. I'm going to end the broadcast first on the other social platforms. And so, Laura, you and I can wave.